I think we're going to kick off this news segment chatting a little bit more about opening weekend across NWSL because there's a lot of different little fun tidbits I think that are finally coming out once you've been a few days removed from opening weekend. And we really, I think, have to start with some of the record breaking attendance that took place across matches in NWSL. Over 90,000 fans attending the 6 matches during opening weekend. Lots of numbers to go through here for specific clubs, maybe starting with San Diego Wave, over 30,000 in attendance, 30,800, 854 folks, too many numbers in the stands for that opening match against Chicago Red Stars. So they really, I think, are the biggest number in that one, but there were some great numbers coming out of a couple other areas here.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly fantastic that over 90,000 of you all
Yeah.
bought tickets, showed up, supported your teams, were loud, made posters and tifos and sang along with the chants. And of course, I mean, San Diego, as you just said, they are the one that announced they were going to break records even before or late last week, before games even got kicked off. But Angel City, they also had a home opener sell out over 22,000 at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. And then Washington Spirit, they are a club that's playing all of their home games at Audi Field this year, which is a massive improvement from last year and years prior. And they had their biggest season home opener at Audi Field, 11,281 fans showing up in DC to cheer on the Washington Spirit. And Washington Spirit got the win at home over OL Reign at this point. I think when you look at that, like the fact that those fans showed up for the Washington Spirit and they end up getting the win, like you make a difference, fans. When you go to a game and you make a difference, it shows. So that's fantastic. I mean, I hope these numbers continue to grow, continue to do more and more and more. I think that a lot of the individual clubs are doing a lot to promote themselves within their communities. And that's how this league grows. That's how this game grows. But it really gives me chills to know that over 90,000 fans across the 6 games. That's fantastic. I hope it only goes up from here.
No, it was cool. It was cool to see because it was something that was already it was something ahead of opening weekend that was already being highlighted.
Yeah.
I remember in our previous news and notes episode, we chatted a bit about Commissioner Berman's sort of address of the league, state of the league, just ahead of opening weekend. And one of the bullet points that was sort of highlighted out of that press conference was that they were anticipating breaking some records
Yeah.
across opening weekend, and we're noting 3 of the 6 specific games, right? And I think the other side of that coin, though, is maybe talking a little bit about it. Then it's in the other areas in which the matches were held. Maybe not as high of attendance when you're looking at a number like 30K in San Diego. And then if you're looking at maybe some of the other matches that took place over the weekend, if you're looking at comparing that to something like North Carolina, where I believe it was around like 4K, that kind of tapers, I think, the average off a little bit, right? But it's interesting to sort of look at that for a second. And I mean, watching that opening game between the Courage and Kansas City and listening to reaction post game, chatting with a player like Gael about the lone game winning goal and their perspective. This is a Danish international and sort of referring to a crowd of 4,000
Right.
as like a massive showing. When you're sort of, I think, looking at different perspectives on things. This is an international player who's played in Europe and said like, oh, it's great to see so many people in the stands. And then there's a part of you that's like, well, just wait till you get to San Diego, or just wait till
I
you get
know.
to Angel City, or wait till you get to Audi Field, right? So I think if you're looking at Courage, if you're looking at that, maybe that number seems over or underwhelming, excuse me. And I'm curious about what attendance is going to look like in week 2, because it's not going to be opening weekend, but it is going to be the home openers
Yeah.
for some of the clubs that kicked off their regular season on the road. So we haven't maybe seen similar numbers coming out of somewhere like Chicago, or we haven't seen similar numbers coming out of somewhere like the New Jersey, New York metro area, right? A market that they are very bullish on. I mean, the league just moved offices back into or into New York, right? Touting their
Mhm.
offices on Madison Avenue. They really want to have a presence in that sports market. So we'll see. I think these are the type of games I think if you're those clubs you want to target in terms of pushing your tickets and pushing attendance. So we'll find out quickly how
Yeah.
that's going to look in week 2. But you got to celebrate the wins when you get them, and this is I think massive for the team or for the league and those teams coming out of opening weekend. But numbers and the turnstiles, weren't the only thing that I think where there was the biggest sort of thing coming out of opening weekend. I mean, there were a lot of individual records that were set as well. I think for players, and some kind of cool, maybe like unofficial stat type
Yeah.
of things coming out of opening weekend. Let's start with Lauren Barnes because she's been around for a while in this league with OL Reign. She extends the record for most NWSL regular season appearances with 190 appearances, just shy of 200, and it's only opening weekend. I have to
I know.
imagine that she's going to go past 200 appearances in the 2023 regular season.
Yeah.
Portland Thorns becoming the first time in NWSL history to record 100 regular season wins. Um, that also makes a sense when you're looking at the team and how long they've been around. One of the inaugural teams in NWSL since their founding in 2013. Racing Louisville, we saw made a little bit of a record. The first time in NWSL history to field players from 6 continents. That was pretty cool to see.
Massive. I mean, this is really cool. I mean, you just talked about Lou Barnes. That's one that I think n- people realize she's been around a long time, but has not only been around, but been a consistent figure in the NWSL since 2013. Because not only 190 appearances, 186 starts for this player, and her minute count is incredibly high. Basically, it makes her the most experienced player in NWSL history because she leads everyone in appearances, starts, and minutes. Like, are you kidding me? That's incredible. And she hasn't skipped a beat. That's the best part about it. She looks almost as great as she did when she first started in 2013. But with Racing Louisville having all field players from 6 different continents, like that is something that I saw that across social media when Louisville was playing. And I was like, this is fantastic. Abby Urseg, Rebecca Holloway, Ari Borges, Wang Shuang, Uchenna Kanu, Ellie Pikisyamis from Finland, and then 5 American starters as well. So not only were they on the team and on the roster, but on the field for Kim Bjorkegren and Racing Louisville. There's also a lot of chitter chatter about Alyssa Thompson, as there should be. The #1 draft pick out of high school. She went to Angel City in LA, and she gets an opening goal for Angel City in just the 11th minute of play. So Thompson is dubbed with the start. She then gets the opening goal for Angel City, making her the 4th youngest player to score in the NWSL. That's behind Jaden Shaw, Ellie Carpenter, and Olivia Moultrie. But she does it in just the 11th minute of the game in her professional debut. Like, does it get any better than
Yeah.
that?
No, I hear you. I'm curious if maybe there's like like a sub record within this where it's like, yeah, she's the 4th youngest to score in an NWSL match,
But is she the quickest?
but is she the quickest? Is she the youngest player to score the goal the quickest? Right? There's all these like, I'm sure Angel City's gonna want to like claim that,
I don't know because Jaden Shaw, when did she score after making her debut?
it was against Chicago Red Stars, and I
It
believe
was
it was in the first half. So
it was pretty
I don't know if it was
quick.
in the opening 11 minutes. So I'm sure somebody can stat check us for sure and help us along the way, and see where that's at. But I think being the 4th, right, is
Yeah.
kind of interesting a little bit. If we want to like touch on that for a couple more seconds, um, it's wild to sort of take a look at the landscape of player rosters across NWSL and sort of see how they've shifted a little bit. And as we entered the 2023 season, some of the new things that we were excited about or highlighted ahead of the opening weekend was something like the under 18 mechanism that now exists, that didn't exist prior to someone like Olivia Moultrie. And her entry into the league had to ultimately go to court to play within the league. And so now there is an under 18 mechanism that exists. But this is just in 2021. So just to see in like the short span of a couple seasons how there are multiple younger players in the league, but under 18 players who have been signed. We didn't see a Chloe Ricketts or Melanie Barcenas, make appearances across opening weekend, but naturally their head coaches are they want to make sure that these very very young
Mhm.
players get acclimated to life as a professional in a slow and careful way. But we did see Alyssa Thompson, and she did score that goal, and the fact that it's a fourth, it made me kind of like smile a little bit, because I'm just like,
Yeah,
yeah, there have been a ton of mostly
that's
there's already been a
amazing.
handful of young players to have scored a goal in NWSL before her. So I would imagine. Oh, see, look, shout out to Lucy in the live in the chat. Shaw's goal was at 27 minutes, almost exactly. So yeah, Angel City, they're gonna want to claim that as well. Not only she's the fourth youngest, but the fourth youngest to score
The
the
fastest.
quickest.
Hey,
We're
every record counts. Every
yeah.
record counts.
We're just out here helping to boost up all the unofficial stats for players out there. Sophia Smith is back. We did not get a chance to see Sophia Smith in the first two international camps with the United States women's national team. She was held out as a precaution. It was a little bit of a
Mhm.
lingering and nagging foot issue, but she seems great now. Back in opening weekend, became the first player to score in three consecutive NWSL season openers. That's a stat. I like that for sure. Welcome back, Sophia Smith, the 2022 NWSL MVP, and Lynn Williams scoring her first NWSL goal since October 2021 in her debut with Gotham on Sunday. She currently ranks third in the league's all-time scoring list behind Christine Sinclair with 59 goals and Sam Kerr with 77. It's a little bit of a leap there.
Yeah, and
After
Lynn Williams with 58. So she's right on the tail of Sink at 59 goals.
yeah.
But yeah, then there's Sam Kerr with 77 goals. Hey, you never know, but massive for Lynn Williams. She also does this, scoring the game-winning goal for Gotham, her new club, while her entire arm is in a brace, essentially.
Oh
So
man.
we find out at the end of the game. Shout out to the commentators on this one. I believe it was Jackie Oatley and Lori Lindsay. But asking Lynn Williams after the game, hey, we saw you get your arm wrapped up. What the heck happened? And she talks about how she goes up early in the game for a header and ends up landing a little bit funky on her elbow. So instead of course, checking out of the game, why would that ever happen? She just runs to the sideline and gets an entire bent arm splint taped from wrist to shoulder on her arm. So then she's running the whole time with like a right degree in her arm, a right degree bent elbow, and she ends up scoring this goal. Incredible. And then this ends up being Gotham's first win since July of last year. So heck of a way to start the year for Gotham, for Lynn Williams making her return, and doing it all in style.
Outrageous, honestly,
Yeah,
to hear her sort of post games. You only need your leg. I only need my legs for soccer. Like
seriously.
it's. I was just like, that's a wild athlete mentality. But yeah, looking like kind of like gingerbread kind of man,
Yes.
like as scoring that kind of goal. But listen, if Lynn Williams, if this is just like the beginning sign, like early signs of Lynn Williams sort of showing her form. No, I think she's going to chase somebody like a Christine Sinclair. I think for that, she's at 58 and Sinclair's at 59 in terms of the league's all scoring list, and that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure.
I
Because
mean,
if she's already scoring, back to scoring with the national team, and clearly getting off to a quick scoring start for club in Gotham FC, I would imagine Lynn Williams might have some more in her in the next
yeah.
week coming up.
Even Golden Boot race at this point, like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
something that I am excited and kinda keeping my eye on. We got Mallory
Oh yeah.
Swanson scoring goals in the opening weekend, Alex Morgan, Trinity Rodman, and Lynn Williams. I think those are top contenders in my mind for a Golden Boot this year, but I love how at the end of the year, the last, like between, like, July and October, we get people that just go on incredible tears with scoring goals, so that's what makes it all the more fun.
Yeah, 100%. I love. I think Lynn Williams is absolutely going to contend for that kind of stuff. We
Yeah.
did all kinds of way too early sort of prediction things, both on Attacking Third and on CBSSports.com, and I absolutely have Lynn Williams down for like a Golden Boot watch. Would love to see it. This is a great start for her. Some other news across the league, though, maybe not so much opening weekend related, but Nicole Baxter put a very heartfelt and touching announcement out on her social. She's announced her retirement, stepping away from the game, and we wish her the best in her post retirement career. And something that we did touch on out of opening weekends, but we want to highlight a
Mhm.
little bit more out of Houston Dash is the absence of Shea Groom for the team, at least for perhaps of the first half of the season. Announced that she tore her MCL a couple weeks ago and was unavailable to play because of that in opening weekend and is likely to miss an extended period of time for the team moving forward. And Angel City and Orlando Pride announcing a trade as well. We got to touch on that. Angel City have acquired $70,000 in allocation money from Orlando Pride for an international spot. And what does it mean? Lisa, what does it mean? That's where we're at. We saw that drop officially the other day, right around the time the United States women's national team April roster dropped, and there's no real indication of if those two things are connected, because let's be real, we saw a lot of the paperwork must have got held up at the league office because we've seen a lot of things sort of drop just ahead of opening weekend, right around when those rosters were supposed to be finalized, and still even now,
Mhm.
the Monday or so after opening weekend. So I'm wondering if this is just something that got held up, or if it is, something that is going to lead to a different move for either team, because there's two pieces here, right? Angel City have $70,000 in allocation money. What are they going to use that for? And now Orlando Pride has an additional international slot. What do the Pride have plans for that? I'm a little curious to see when the next shoe will drop and what it'll look like.
Yeah, in the chat, some people asking clarification, traded what for what? So, it's $70,000 in allocation money going from Orlando Pride to Angel City and an international roster spot going to Orlando Pride. And yeah, there's a lot of speculation around this about what this means, but I'm gonna be honest, we've been very wrong in the past. Remember when Orlando gathered all that money and we were like, Davina's going to the Pride? Yeah, that did not happen. Davina went to Kansas City, but the rumors here, I guess, I'm just going to be blunt about it, is that because the United States Women's National Team has named Julie Ertz back into the mix for these April friendlies, and she's been named to the roster the first time since July 2021 that Ertz is back in the international mix after the Tokyo Olympics. She then gave birth to her and Zach's first son. She hasn't reported for club duties. Her rights have been traded. She's been a free agent in the league. And now that she's back on the U.S. roster, Vlatko Andonovski wants her training with a club team. So there has been confirmation from Julie and from Vlatko that she is in communication with a team or teams about joining their roster, joining their training for the season. That way she can be a contender for the U.S. Women's National Team World Cup roster. And as soon as that news dropped and was announced, then we hear light of this trade between Orlando and Angel City, that Angel City now has $70,000 in allocation money that they will use hopefully towards a player's salary. That's what it's there for. And Julie Ertz definitely has a price tag on her. So, I mean, 2 plus 2 equals 4 sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't at all equal 4. So we'll see kind of if you're reading between the lines here, does this mean Julie Ertz is going to Angel City? We have no idea. We have actually no idea, but that was where her rights were initially traded 2 years ago from Chicago to Angel City, but she never signed a contract with the Los Angeles team. From my understanding, she never really showed up to practice or do anything. She was doing a lot. She was on maternity leave. She was starting a family, but now that she wants to get back into club training, is she going to put her boots on and lace them up in Los Angeles? I'm not so sure yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what we can rule out is I think we could rule out like international kind of clubs. I think if Julie
Yeah.
Ertz is coming back this close to a World Cup, um, she's going to play stateside. I know it's fun to speculate that kind of stuff, but I just don't see that happening in this type of
Yeah.
season. What it means, for a player to have strong club play in the build up to a World Cup, especially with the United States women's national team. So, where she's gonna land, I think is gonna be on people's radar for quite some time until
Yeah.
it finally gets announced.
I think a lot of teams would be happy to have her.
Yeah, I'm sure. But speaking what frankly or bluntly, I just don't think there's enough teams out there that can actually afford her. I think there are teams
Exactly.
out
Yeah,
there right now
completely.
with more money than other clubs. And I think that there are other clubs out there that are willing to make that type of move than some others.
Hmm.
I think big picture, it's like the the perception is like, oh, it's Julie Ertz and she's looking for a club. Like, yeah, all 12 clubs should be at that table if she's a free agent, right? But I just don't think that that's a reality for certain
Yeah, the
teams
price
at this.
tag's big and it should be,
Well, I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, I think there's a number of things that probably are going to come into play
right?
for a player like this. Like, it really just comes down, and that's the beauty of free agency, right? It's going to come down to a number of different factors for players. Is maybe it's going to be a balance of things. Maybe it's going to the balance of a price tag, the balance of location, the balance of facility, resources, et cetera, et cetera. And I would even argue that there are some teams with the better of those things than other clubs in the league. There are some teams that still don't have their own dedicated practice or training facilities or things like that, and some other clubs do have that. So I think there's going to be, rightfully, perhaps a bidding war in some capacity for somebody like Ertz. I mean, and I think it's really cool to sort of know that we have a first ever free agency to kind of look at
Mhm.
as an example. And everything that we heard coming out from players who landed in new spots in free agency took a number of things into consideration. Like we heard from Akola Prico going to San Diego, that looking for a change, yes, a change in environment, a change of scenery, a change in just a mix up for her current development, that she wanted different type of perhaps style of play or coaching or other avenues of development for her moving forward. And someone like a Dabinia saying that, like, I want to be in a place where there's a contending team and that there's lots of great facilities, and that's why she chose Kansas City. There's a lot of different factors I think that come into play for the individual when they're looking for a new club, and we'll see. I would venture to say that, like, if people are looking at this move specifically between Angel City and Orlando and saying like maybe this is going to be it, who knows? Maybe it is. But there's more than one California team out there, and there's more than one team out there that does have certain amount of resources or so to sort of
Yeah.
offer in their pitch to a player. So it's funny how we've gone from the cycle moves so quickly, right? And we've gone now from, oh my god, like Julie Ertz is making a comeback and she's on listed on a roster, and now we've sort of pivoted out of that to club watch. Who's
Yeah.
she going to sign
Who's
for and
she
where's she going
signing
to
with?
go?
Mhm.
So that's something that we'll obviously keep chatting about
And
and
if and when we'll
speculate
see
again.
her. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, my mind is already like, okay, she's gonna sign with a team, most likely in the NWSL. We don't think she's going international at this point. And now I'm like, okay, when are we gonna see her play? Of course, we'll see her in the international break with the US team, but when are we gonna see her for club, on the pitch in competition? That's what I wanna say.
Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? We'll probably have to go live again when that when that drops. And
Julie Ertz has stepped onto the field.
yeah, we're just gonna be live. We're just gonna be live and talking about it.